Hey everybody, welcome back to Champ and Sons and our Planet Coaster series here in Austin's Wonderland. As last episode, y'all saw us get the lazy river going, the massive lazy river. Basically, lazy Amazon is what it's going to end up being. It's so dang big and wide, but that we got done last episode. So this episode, I really wanted to kind of put in basically what would amount to a version of a water coaster without it being like an actual roller coaster. So everybody, just an idea. What is it, like Thunder Rapids or something at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas? It's the one that shoots you up the water tunnel and all that. I think Schlitterbahn was one of the first ones to pioneer that kind of thing. But that's what we're going to be doing here today in this episode, in this blank space right here, which I think really works, and it serves as kind of a boundary to our park. To really kind of shut off, okay, this is the edge of the water park. Like, this is where the water park line is. So essentially, we'll have our kind of endpoint to where we can say, okay, now that we've gotten this portion done, we can finish off the parking lot, move it, add, make the additions to it necessary, and kind of fill in that area. But what we're going to go ahead and do is, as I've kind of decided to plan out with as accidentally massive as I made this lazy river, is back here in these offshoots over here. This is where we're going to start putting our water slides, right? We're going to have a lot of different slides, different heights. Some are going to be for inner tubes, some are not. And then we're also going to have a wave pool there at the back. So that's something that I think should drag people across the lazy river, essentially, and to the back of the park. Now, as I look at this stuff, and obviously hindsight and everything is really 2020 for the most part, this is just way too big. I mean, it's kind of comical. I did a great job closing off a lot of that space, but we're going to have to make something that I really got to watch the size of. So we have this small area, and it's not really even that small of an area, but it is essentially kind of like a border of where the water rides are going to be at versus the actual theme park rides, with it being next to the first coaster that we actually built here in Austin's Wonderland. And then where do we extend our parking lot to? Because whenever we talk about finishing the park, I can't just have that tiny of a little parking lot there. We've got to actually make something substantial to hold all the people. I think at this stage there's like a couple thousand people, which, by the way, Planet Coaster 2 does a fantastic job of running with. I think last Planet Coaster 1, it seemed like the max was like 2,000 before you started having like big issues. But they do a great job running this game with well over that. Now, I mentioned size perspective. This thing is going to stick out. I want it to stick out a little bit by that, by our little flashback coaster. But when it comes to sizing, like I said, look at these steps. Like, look at this platform. I mean, I've got to understand that maybe it's just me that this thing goes in meters at times or something. I don't really know. I have a feeling that would be it, because this is just a huge bridge to cover. But it does offer some great viewpoints. Like, they're like of the coaster, and if we hang out here just long enough, we'll see that thing go shooting up before it releases, going backwards through the track around to the station. And yeah, we will get a glimpse of it as it goes up and then down. So we've got all the viewpoints, and even there, Forest Runner, we can see that thing going up the hill and cresting the top of that hill. As I try to screw around with this camera, I'm not very good at the camera work. I will admit that. Like, just really not good about it. So we come into the gift shop, and then this is something we looked at the last time, with inflatables, like those inflatable mat things to lay down on, the inner tubes, a lot of that stuff. And I put barriers in between some of them, but people still try to cross over them, and they sometimes get stuck. But here we got the nice indoor eating area, which actually, now that I think restaurants are a thing, that's going to be a lot more valuable to have. It's like, oh, there's a barrier I kept up. I hadn't sunk that down yet. And I'm not going to lie, I was having problems with people like still walking over the barriers even after I sunk them down. So that was a little iffy, but hey, it is what it is. Now let's going to take a look coming up here at our first update with our brand new little water coaster tucked away into this nice little corner. And so here it is. And the beginning is what always kind of still makes me weirded out a little bit with the way these slides are done. The entrance point to the slide with how the steps go up. You know, knowing this one can shoot you up, I didn't want it to be too high. I wanted that part to stay relatively down low. And even thinking of the one that I've been on, basically you go from the entrance platform onto it, and you're really essentially starting out at ground level, and it launches you up. Now, I didn't want to start something at ground level, but I wanted to give it at least a little bit of elevation. And so that's kind of what we did here. We gave it a pretty good amount of elevation, and then even the first uplift, it shoots you straight up, so it works out for us in the end. And really providing a good fast ride with a lot of different tunnel pieces. A very intricate one, and it fits really solidly in the area. I am glad to see that it does fit in the area here. So that is definitely a positive for us. And here we have the entrance queue, and like I said, I'm still working on the entrance queue stuff, right? I'm still trying with that. But getting it matched up, getting everything going, I figured in all reality the best thing to do, let me just put this thing on the ground. And like here's a perfect example of what I was having. So this part begins right there. So we got to put this flume start. Now this is not going to be a ride, so don't panic everybody. I'm just placing an entrance. But see how it does? It sticks down to the bottom. I haven't been able to get it to stick at that level yet. And so if you do sink it down and watch this, boom, look at what it does to the ground. Like, I don't know why it was doing that for me. It got real annoying, but that's also another reason why I just placed it at that height. I know there is a way to do it, and I have a feeling I'm just kind of an idiot in that sense. But there is most definitely a way to get that portion done. And you can see I got it raised off the ground. It just would not ever go up to... it just would never get all the way up there. But, you know, it's one of those things. I've still got to figure it out. This is my first water park to be built in Planet Coaster 2, so I know it is a little bit of a growing pain. And even look, like even the delete thing wasn't going to get rid of it. You got to go through and actually delete the ride and all that stuff. So that was kind of some of the things I was having an issue with. And then really with this coaster, or not coaster, but this slide, the one thing that I kept worrying on was how many times do I go back up the slope, right? I'm not going to worry too much about all the different, ride ratings. I'm not going to treat this like a coaster. I think it's going to be a big attraction regardless of what its ratings are, as long as they're not like just the absolute worst. But I wanted to try and get something that had enough speed and had enough action to really kind of keep you gripped in throughout the entire ride. And so that's really what the focus of this thing was, and trying to get the coaster set up, the slide set up, to where we were good to go with it. Now, as far as what am I going to do with this flat terrain? So the whole park is pretty much flat, right? Which, downside, that's not my strength. So what we are going to end up trying to do is trying to bring up the land to meet the slide, right? Bring it up to make it look like more of a natural mound, and that we actually just kind of built this into a little bit of a hillside. So that's kind of what I was hoping to try to get done with the land. The problem is I've still never been that big of a fan of the landscaping tool kind of things, and that's probably also more just a thing on me because I am not that great with adjustments to land size, moving land up and all that type of stuff. I do have to get better at it, and you know what, we will. This is just the first park in Planet Coaster 2. First park, first water park. Don't worry, folks, we're going to be better. We're going to get there one day. Just, it's not today. But overall, this one was a fun build to do. I do like the slide physics of it. Now, I wasn't foolish to think I didn't have to cover a lot. I did cover a lot of it, but at the same time, I put that little cage covering on most of the ride, so that way it is one of those more protective kind of things. And in any one of these style water coasters, yeah, you're not going to have complete, tubing when you're going around the turns for the most part, but you are definitely going to have it during the upslope and when it's pushing you up, and at least during those portions. So I wanted to kind of try to keep things hidden from you, keep you kind of guessing. And in fact, what's crazy about this tube ride is, and I didn't know that, but the tubes on the inside, the inner tubes, the dual one for the two riders, it actually like spins around in the tunnels. And I'll be honest, I've never had that happen to me on the one at Fiesta, Texas, the multitude of times I've been on it. So I'm not sure how likely that really is. But it is kind of funny the way it does spin you around, and you can kind of catch little glimpses of people as they're spinning around. See that one right at the bottom of the turn is almost sideways. Comes out correctly. Well, that one came out backwards, but it does come out like it's supposed to. And so, yeah, I mean, this one was a fun little build. It is interesting to see how that stuff works as we do get people going around, spinning around in full 360 degrees as a new element to the ride itself, I would say. But we are going to, don't worry, we are going to take a POV ride here in a minute of it, or in a little bit of it. And this was another thing I found kind of interesting. So a lot of the times for the rides, like the coasters, look at the supports. The path makes the supports disappear, but not with the water slides, which is kind of odd. And let's take into a look at one of our final updates here as we get the queue work done. We got the land raised up, a pretty good portion of it, and just overall ride decoration. I really like how this thing turned out. That bright coral reef is an excellent, I'm not going to even say space filler, I'm just going to say decoration. It actually looks really damn good. Now, we did that with the sea rock, or the purple rock work in there. And I mean, just the bright colors work incredibly well for how, if you look at the water on these pools, essentially how bright and vibrant these pools are, having that coral kind of sections mixed in with that purple water rock actually does incredibly well to highlighting the path and overall making it a pretty dang good looking ride and a good feel for the environment. Now you can see kind of behind the little station area, we had some land work done, not too much, because I didn't want it to be too excessive, but we did raise a lot of the land around it, which I think would make sense. Like, you would probably build that into it for the most part, cut out some of the land to put the entrance to the ride and all that stuff, and then it still kind of progresses downhill to the queue line here as you wind your way through to get on this, I'm just going to call it a water coaster, right? So that's what we are going to call it here. So we've done a lot of the decorating around this thing, and really I think it's brought this whole ride to life. And then, like I said, that coral stuff is bringing the water part, I think, brings a whole different element to the water park. It just looks really cool in the backdrop with everything else there, with the ride, the tropical trees, all that fun jazz. It really does put a good spin on this area, and a nice little touch that I really wanted to come through. And so what's great about this is it has all the viewpoints I think you would look for in not just a water park slide, but a theme park ride in general. And it's simple enough that I could do it. So just keep that in mind. If you like what you see, just understand I did it, so just about anybody can do that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so that's kind of where we are at this. This is the biggest drop here at the end. I really like it. You're going to build up a ton of speed, and if you look at launches, you get almost to the top. Not all the way, but almost, right? And I put in the water jets. It looks like it still has that track that takes you up, but I did put in the water jets to take you up. It's kind of like those water things. It takes you up a little bit at a time. The only downside is, in real life, whenever you hit those things, man, it takes you up and then boom, just a big old hit of water comes flying right over your shoulders. So you got to be prepared for a little chilly hit. All right, so this is just looking at kind of the border of the park and really what we're going to do. I've cut off a lot of the path work with our coral stuff. And I think that's just the best way to kind of keep it going and to get it going, you know. So while we take a look at that, let's get ready to actually take this thing for a ride. And here we go. I'll just let y'all enjoy the ride for now. That was a pretty good one. I did like the whole spinning around. That actually came out pretty well for it, so I was glad to see that kind of happen there. So a pretty smooth ride as well. The spins, I mean, that does add kind of a little extra element, but overall there's one palm tree that cut through that might hurt. Other than that, I think it turned out to be a really good little ride. I enjoyed building it quite a bit, and then also the ride is pretty fun too. And I love this viewpoint of these tubes coming around this corner. It's a pretty awesome little look at it. You should try to get one of those coming up pretty soon if I'm not mistaken. But hey, while we do try to see if we can get one of those tubes to come around here, I do just want to remind y'all to hit the subscribe button if you have not hit it already, and hit that bell icon to be notified of all the Champ and Sons content we do upload here to the channel. And yeah, here they come. Boom. Spinning. Drifting around the corner. This one should have been called Water Drifter. Now that I think about it, I got to go back and rename it. So yeah, Water Drifter sends you around that corner. Great viewpoint. Definitely enjoyed building this. But like I said, guys, hit that bell icon so you can be notified of all our uploads. Also, join us generally every Saturday and or Sunday morning. We are on Twitch. Same thing, Champ and Sons. Twitch.tv. We do live stream Planet Coaster there, a different park that we're doing. But overall, this was a really fun segment of the water park to build. It's my first one to get down. So we're definitely going to have fun building a lot of the others, but that will be in the next episode as we get closer to the completion of this park in its entirety, guys. But I will see y'all in that next time. So as always, stay safe, and well, y'all know how it goes from here, right? Later, y'all.